Hello and welcome back to the Animal Room at the Science Center in Ithaca, New York. My name is Colin. I'm the curator of live exhibits here, and we're going to do another tour around the Animal Room. Right now we're looking at our Xenopus cage, our African clawed frogs. Here's one of them hanging out. This is our big albino. It's kind of funny, the most common comment we get in the Animal Room here is that we have a dead frog, because this albino frog often looks quite dead. They're ambush predators, so they hold really still, just hanging out, waiting for something to swim by for them to grab. And this one, being an albino, has no color. It looks pale, and it's a bit overweight too, so it looks kind of bloated. So many people who come and look at this animal get concerned and tell us we have a dead animal. But it's perfectly fine. Just hanging out doing its thing. Today, oh, and there's one of the normal pattern ones coming up. You must have seen me moving around, hoping to get some worms. Sorry buddy, not today. I think you ate yesterday. Oh. Today we're going to just do a quick stroll around the animal room. We're going to look at a handful of things, and then perhaps I'll leave you all set up to watch me do some water changes. I need to do a water change on our cichlid tank and with our lionfish. So I'll try to avoid getting stung by the lionfish. That is not what I need at this point. This is our Bombina, our fire-bellied toad. This exhibit, I have a little bit of water stain there on the glass. Water splashes from the waterfall and it dries on the glass and makes those water stains. Easier to clean in the bathroom than in an animals exhibit. Can't use any harsh chemicals to help pull those water stains off. Just use a little bit of vinegar and try not to overwhelm the system. This is our Bombina hanging out here. In this cage is where our new Shinosaur lizard will come and live once we move her onto exhibit. This will be a nice home for her. Try to back up a little bit here. It has a nice waterfall flowing, some good plants, some good perches out of the water for currently the Bombina, but soon the Shinosaur to hang out on, and then a good watery realm too for the Shinosaur to swim around in. So excited to get her out onto exhibit. She's a really fun animal, and I can't wait to show her off to everybody. Let's head back over this way. Say hi to those Xenopus again. And then we'll come on over and check out the bicolor. Say a quick hi to these guys. I didn't wipe the glass down today, so it's going to be a bit foggy and slimy in there. But you can see they're all happy, hanging out, doing their thing. The bicolor are neat frogs. They're part of the genus Phyllobates, and Phyllobates are the most toxic dart frogs in the world. It takes just a little bit, I think it's as few as a few hundred milligrams of their toxin to be able to kill an adult human being. Luckily though, these guys in captivity don't have any toxins. They get their toxins from the insects they eat, who are probably getting their toxins from the plants in the rainforest. Many plants in the rainforest contain toxic alkaloids. And when the animals are able to incorporate those alkaloids into themselves, it can be a powerful defense to keep from getting eaten. So those are our bicolor. And let's come and say a quick hi to our ribbed newts, our Spanish ribbed newts. Here they are. This is another animal that spends most of its time just hanging out, holding still, making sure that nothing's going to eat it, and hoping that it can find something to eat. We have a pair here. It is a male and a female. Never been able to get them to breed because can't do the proper environmental manipulation that they would need in order for them to breed. Which is just as well because these guys are happy and healthy and doing well, and we don't really have a need for a whole lot of little root newts. I believe it's the male in the front here. He has a much broader tail, much taller tail, and he's a larger animal. The female's a little smaller. Can't see her tail, but it's narrower. They come from, it's a warmer environment than in Ithaca, but it's still temperate, and they have winters, and it's the winter cooling and then the coming on of spring that initiates them to breed, which is the case with many animals. Next we'll swing around, take a quick peek at our seahorses. We've had here on the glass here, there we go, get a decent look at that. We've gotten more eggs from our Nassarius snails. The Nassarius snails are snails that help keep the tank clean, eat up all the leftover food that the seahorses don't eat, or at least a lot of it. They've clearly been doing well as they've been laying eggs all over the glass. While we've been closed, we haven't been as diligent about cleaning the glass as we typically would in order to keep it looking good for our guests. And that's allowed the snails to come up and start laying eggs. I was excited that we might end up with lots of little baby Nassarius snails, but unfortunately they have a larval form that it lives as a plankton, free-floating pelagic plankton floating through the water column. I think that stage lasts for almost a month. So in this tank with high water flow and robust filtration and a UV filter, there's no way any of those little snails will make it to sub-adult stage. But it's fun to see their eggs. But here, let's look at the star of this tank. Where is she? There she is. There's one of our beautiful little seahorses. She's been doing pretty well. We were having some issues with Vibrio because the water was a little too warm, but we got a nice big chiller that I just got installed on this tank the other day. So now this water is running a nice cool 72 degrees. Might even go a little bit cooler with them. These guys do exist in quite a broad range of habitats. They'll exist in water from the 60s all the way up to the 80s even. But in captivity, it seems that when water gets above 74 degrees, a species of bacteria called Vibrio, that's a genus actually, there's lots of different types of Vibrio, but Vibrio has a competitive advantage. Once it gets above 74, it starts to do too well and can make these guys sick. So you gotta keep the temperatures down a bit. I don't know if you can see it. It might be hard to make out. We've got one seahorse that's hanging out underneath this rock. They love this rock back here because of all the copepods and amphipods that hang out in and amongst the crevices of that rock. So they hang out behind it and under it and all around it, trying to hunt those little critters. They're small and they probably don't offer a huge amount in the way of nutrition, but it certainly occupies their time between feedings. We feed these seahorses 3 times a day. It's fairly labor intensive, but it's what keeps them happy. That's our fun mangrove exhibit. Now let's move on. We'll take a quick look at our coral tank. Oh, embarrassed here. Look at that. Somebody needs to clean that glass. Actually, this is pretty neat though. You can see all these little pock marks. This is algae growing all over the glass here. Really quite embarrassing to show you that. I'm still looking at it though because you can see all these little pock marks here. And those are the little lip marks of our yellow eye coal tang. As I've described before, the coal tang is the workhorse of this tank. This coal tang is constantly going around eating algae, as it's made quite clear when I've let this algae grow on the glass here. Oh, and actually, if you look here, this is pretty neat. This, in amongst the pock marks from the coal tang, that is a trail from one of our turbo snails. As it cruised along the glass here, they have a scraping radula. That's their mouth part. It's called a radula. And these guys have a scraping one. There's all sorts of different types of radulas in the snail world. Some are piercing and some are scraping. There's all sorts of different types. And these snails have a scraping mouth part. You can see as they slither along, they swing their radula back and forth, scraping algae off of usually a rock, but in this case the glass. And that's why we keep the snails in here too. We follow the snail's trail all the way along. Oh, that's a fun thing to look at. There's our frog spawn coral, gently waving in the breeze. These are the accursed orange mushrooms. Not actually mushrooms, they are corals, they're an animal. They drive me crazy and they multiply all over the place and sting the other corals. And there we've got our clownfish photobombing and our potter angel also photobombing. Oh, there's one of our green chromis. And these corals back here, this is a soft coral, which means that if this coral were to die, it would completely melt away, leaving absolutely nothing behind. It is all just squishy soft, as you can see as it blows in the current. This is called a Kenyan tree coral, or a capanella. It has lots of different growth forms based on where the conditions it's growing in. Here, where the current's quite strong, it's nice and dense, thick branches. If it grows in the low current area, it'll grow much more extended and drawn out. Most corals will adjust their growth patterns and types based on the conditions they live in. Usually the amount of light and current are the two main factors that affect that. Now I'm going to swing you all around. We'll take a quick look at our sleeping beaded lizard. Crashed out there. Got fed the other day, so it has a nice full belly. Just sleeping now. You know, I'll bring you all around. We'll look at a few more reptiles. The cord issues here. So here's Percy, our corn snake. When we looked at her the other day, she was deep in shed, and I think her shed has cleared up now, but I don't think she shed yet. I didn't notice it written in the book. I haven't seen her shed. Maybe I missed it though when she has. She looks pretty good. So either she's already shed or she'll likely shed tonight or tomorrow. Certainly sometime soon. She's doing well. She's hanging out here under her basking lamp. We've got a nice big bright light bulb there that helps keep it nice and warm for her. And really what I wanted to do was bring you all around to take a look at our big gravid green tree python. And here she is. She's looking great. She's doing well. I would almost guarantee that she is gravid now. See those big huge bellies. You can actually see, even though she looks so big and fat, you can start to see her ribs. These little, get my hand up here, these lines here, those are actually her ribs showing through her skin. And then this line here, that's actually her backbone. You can see a little bit of the same thing over on this side too. So even though she looks big and fat, and she had great conditioning going into this, female snakes put a whole lot of energy into producing their eggs. That reproductive effort is so vitally important. And so they actually suck all the energy from their body that they can and put into their eggs. They'll lose muscle mass to do it, they'll lose fat deposits. Their bone density will actually decrease, which is fairly common in the animal kingdom. Developing babies, and then for mammals, lactating, producing milk, takes a lot of calcium. So it's important that mother animals in this stage have good calcium levels, help keep their bones strong. Oh, look at that. I didn't even notice. There's the male in the background. So there's our 2 green tree pythons. Hopefully be parents soon. The next thing we'll look for from this female, you can see your heat sensing pits. She should go through a shed cycle sometime in the coming weeks, and that will be a pre-lay shed. And once she's gone through that shed cycle, then we'll expect the eggs imminently after that. They're cavity nesters, so she'll lay her eggs in some sort of a cavity. It's what they typically like to do, in a tree hollow or some other hidden spot where they feel protected. Because pythons will actually incubate their eggs. She'll coil around the egg mass and keep them warm and safe and wait for them to hatch. And then when the babies hatch, they'll slice through the eggs with their egg tooth and slither off, never looking back. So while the mothers provide care for the eggs, they don't care for the young at all. Those are our green tree pythons. Super excited about her. She laid eggs for us last winter. I think it was last January she laid her eggs, so she's a little later this year, just as well, getting better body condition on her in that extra time. But we left her on exhibit with her eggs in the hopes that people could come and see her incubating them and hatching them, and they made it about halfway through incubation, but unfortunately one of the eggs on the bottom of the egg mass, I don't know if it got a little wet or maybe if it got a little too warm or too cold, but it died. Before I realized it, it had infected many of the other eggs. And we lost most of the eggs by the time I pulled them out. There's still a few that look good, and I set them up in the incubator, but they all perished pretty quickly after that. A little too traumatic for them. So this year, I expect she'll lay pretty soon, and who knows how long this social isolation will last, but probably it will last longer than when we get these eggs. And so this year, since no one will be around to see them on exhibit, I will immediately pull her off of the eggs once she lays them and set them up in an incubator. And we'll get to hopefully hatch out some baby green tree pythons this spring or summer. There's a few of our reptiles. Now I'm going to bring you around. Here's our lionfish. A little bit hard to see them with that awful reflection. These are glorious fish. Such beautiful animals. Generally seem so elegant and slow, but when you see them hunting in an action, boy, can they be fast. And their dorsal spines here on the top of its body, these spines up here, they do contain a pretty powerful. Well, it's not that powerful. They do contain a, I believe it's a neurotoxin. So if you get pricked by any of those spines, it can hurt. I don't believe there's ever been any recorded fatalities. And I've read that it often is no more serious than a bee sting for most people, but people's reactions are individual. Some people have a minor reaction like a bee sting or maybe even less, but other people can have severe swelling and very intense pain. Luckily, I don't think anyone's ever been stung by our lionfish here. Hopefully today will not be the day. Now I'm going to set you all up looking at our cichlid tank here. As I was starting to mention earlier, I'm managed to injure myself pretty badly this past week. I somehow, well, I know exactly how I did it, but I tore my bicep right off of my forearm. Not a very pleasant thing to do. And so because of that, I will be out for surgery on Friday. Try to get that repaired. So this week I'm making sure to be up on top of all my water changes and everything the best I can. Try to leave as little as possible for my spectacular keeper Emily to take care of while I'll be recovering. So I'm going to end this tour at this point. I'm going to turn off my microphone so you all don't have to listen to the awful buzzing white noise of our pumps and water running. But I'll leave you here, and I'm going to come and do a water change on the cichlid tank, and then I'll swing you all over to look at the lionfish tank while I do a water change there. So thanks for tuning in. We've got Earth Day coming up tomorrow, I believe it is. So celebrate our wonderful planet. Enjoy some beautiful nature in the coming of spring. Stay healthy. Take care, and I'll see you all on Thursday.